is needed. A full collection is required.
The fair buzzed with lights and voices. Colorful stalls beckoned with sweets. Peppa pulled Grandpa by the hand toward the brightest stand. The shelves were bursting with Labubu figurines. They all smiled with identical mouths. One golden figurine stood apart. Its crimson eyes followed Peppa's every move, then slowly winked at her. Behind the stall, an emaciated seller looked as pale as paper, their smile frozen too wide with too many teeth. Peppa begged Grandpa to win her a golden figurine. He nodded and moved smoothly. He threw a ball into an arcade machine. The ball hit its target. The figurine dropped into a tray. Grandpa picked it up. His eyes glazed over, and he reached into his pocket, pulling out not just one, but dozens of identical golden Labubus that spilled onto the carpet. He whispered endless repetitions.
More is needed. A full collection is required.
Outside, people with prizes froze in place, their faces fixed with empty smiles. Peppa ran into darkness. The alley behind the fair was silent and dark. A flickering street lamp illuminated an ominous figure, that same seller. But now his body consisted of hundreds of fused figurines. They moved and creaked teeth. Clicking nearby stood Grandpa, whose skin had turned gray and hard, the smile frozen forever. He stared blankly through glassy eyes at emptiness. The seller extended his hand, holding one figurine, a face resembling Peppa's with glowing crimson eyes. A mouth stretched into an unnatural grin. Peppa felt icy coldness at her fingertips. The skin on her palm became smooth and glossy. Hundreds of crimson-eyed monsters stared at her. The silence shattered with a sharp click. Peppa, George, and little Evie snuggled comfortably in bed. A bedtime story, the perfect end to the day. Peppa's gaze drifted toward the bedroom door, behind which something was awakening.
I'll check the kitchen. Quickly, go to sleep.
Said Mommy Pig, but she never returned.
Mom!
George and Evie looked anxiously into the semi-darkness of the corridor. The call of darkness came from there. Peppa took Evie's hand and they stepped forward into the unknown. Dark streams flowed down the walls. Each step could be their last.
Mom, where are you?
And the darkness answered. Suddenly, a splash. Ink began to rise upward. From the droplets, a silhouette appeared, almost reaching the ceiling. A thin body, tentacle-like arms covered with cracks. Two blazing red orbs for eyes. A mouth twisted into a crooked, predatory grin. Black liquid dripping from its fangs. It knows where you are and is waiting for its moment. The monster's tentacles suddenly swept at George and Evie. Peppa screamed in horror, reaching out for them, but her hands passed through the black mass. It doesn't eat, it transforms. George and Evie disappeared into the ink-like mass, and after a second, they reappeared, but already changed. Their eyes were completely black, their smiles unnaturally wide, their skin gray. Now they are his servants.
Play with us, Peppa.
Suddenly, from the depths of the corridor, Mommy and Daddy emerged, distorted, their faces smeared, eyes black, with traces of black liquid in the corners of their mouths. Even loved ones have become strangers, and now she is alone. The pig family went on vacation to an old house in the middle of the forest. The house creaked with every step, and the trees outside the window didn't move even in the wind. Peppa and George were playing in the nursery. The parents were preparing food in the kitchen. At first, everything was going well, but in the evening, George noticed something outside the window.
He is already here,
he whispered. That night, George saw a silhouette of a strange tree through the window. He went outside to look at it. It was a mistake. In the morning, George was gone. Mom cried. Dad turned pale. The police didn't answer, so the parents went into the forest to look for him. They told Peppa not to go anywhere and not to open the door for anyone. Peppa was left alone. The parents walked along a creepy trail and ended up deep in the forest. Suddenly, they came across what had caused the nighttime sounds. A huge tree with arms and legs. Eyes and a creepy smile stood and looked at them. Meanwhile, Peppa was sitting in the living room. Suddenly, the TV turned on by itself. On screen was their forest. The camera slowly zoomed in on something between the trees. It was her parents hanging upside down. Then static and silence. Suddenly, the lights in the house went out. Fear gripped Peppa, but staying inside was dangerous. The monster knew where she was. Peppa tried to run through the forest to find help, but it had become denser than during the day. She walked along a trail and suddenly saw it. A creature resembling a tree. Tall, thin, yellow eyes, a huge mouth. It was staring directly at her.
Peppa, your family has been waiting.
Deleted Peppa Pig episode, The Living Toy. George loved his dinosaur, but that day, the toy fell into a place where it shouldn't have gone. George didn't know. Some toys find their owners on their own. When George disappeared, Peppa decided to look for him, but she had no idea. She would have to search not for her brother, but for what had taken him. The trail led to the nursery, where it all began. The door to the nursery swung open, and Peppa saw a giant dinosaur holding George in its claws.
Give him back!
Peppa shouted, but the dinosaur already knew his name. Peppa tried to rescue her brother, but the dinosaur swatted her away with its tail. George mumbled. His voice sounded strange, as if the dinosaur was learning how to be him. Peppa grabbed a toy hammer and struck the dinosaur's paw. It dropped George.
Run!
Peppa yelled, but George didn't move. His eyes turned red. In the morning, George returned, but Peppa saw that now the dinosaur was always watching him. At night, a voice was heard behind the door.
the little dinosaur. Mine.
He waiting, because children can be lost so easily, especially when they think they've been found.